in Erdene, and we are seeing handshakes.
Yes, the handshake is on. The game is on as well. E4, c5, knight f3 played, and let's take a look at Bibisara in action.
Yeah, because Bibisara has won consecutive crowns. She's still a teenager, I believe, or has she finally exited her teenage years? Either way, she's a young star, and she has won consecutive World Blitz Championships. And here, with the black pieces, Bishop b5 check met with knight d7. To me, that indicates she wants to fight.
Yes, this is her style. This is the spirit. And the good news is that suddenly I feel that there is a sync between our board and the live camera feed. Yes, hurrah.
We made it. We did it. Thanks for everybody for remaining with us. And I was correct. I quickly looked it up. She is just 19 years old. So imagine having 2 World Blitz titles to your name by the time you're 19. She can make it 3 by the end of tomorrow. And Peter, I like this style of play from both sides here. The Bishop b5 check, just seeing what your opponent has in store for you. And we will see a strike with d4 in the near future.
Yes, also now white is blocking black's queen side. Yeah, it's a very lovely a5 pawn. Black nevertheless might push b5 anyway in order to break free there. Yeah, we are seeing this.
And that means black is saddled with an isolated pawn, but gets clear activity and compensation on the queen side. And you see the queen take back on b6 and the rerouting of the knight to d2. This is a lovely idea. Get that knight to c4. It also frees up the bishop to develop because b2 will be protected.
Yes, and often also white is going for some b3, bishop b2 setup. That's why you also need knight d2 not to run into any kind of tricks with knight takes e4 and then the bishop on g7 hits the rook on a1. Lot of finesses here.
And knight e5, f4 is the tempting move to attack that knight on e5, but then c4 check comes in, so you have to properly assess this continuation because the pawn on d3 will be captured. Suddenly some trades will occur. It's going to become more tactical, especially with that king in the queen's path.
Yeah, I don't want to touch anything on the king side. I feel like white should aim for this b3, bishop b2, small little development, relying also on the beautiful pawn structure. Okay, h3 also makes a lot of sense, guarding the g4 square just in case if white decides to go f4 later on.
That's a good move. The f4 is tempting, but you want to correctly play it. And now bishop b7, aiming towards the center. That is a very logical choice. I'm still looking at f4, but I understand c4 check can be annoying. And there it is, f4. She has no fear, does Mai Narva.
Yes, but you called it, and I'm very happy to play c4 check and then include c takes d3 on the board, takes, and then the knight can go back to c6, eventually jump to d4. Yeah, Bibisara is playing very nice chess.
And it's not like white has done anything wrong. She has rerouted her knight to c4, but her position's a little looser. At some moment, knight h5 could be very dangerous. You're pointing out knight d4 as well to get rid of that light square bishop. There's just all these juicy dark squares that black can try and take advantage of.
Yes, on the other hand, the reason why white does not really worry about these kind of things because she got her setup. Bishop is on e3, knight on c4, eyeing the b6 square, setting up beautifully this construction with, let me just highlight it. Yeah, it's black has harmony, but white is also happy.
Yeah, the bishops are placed quite nicely. You have the correct highlights where all of white's pieces feel defended and on safe squares, and black is a little bit passive, not a single piece past her own third rank. That said, this can open up at any moment, and it's the white king that's going to be in more danger if the position does in fact blow open.
Yeah, kind of clearly Bibisara is trying to break with d6, d5. I'd have expected the other knight to go to d7 to guard some other squares on the queen side, but she wants to break out.
And d5 is the way for black to break out, and then maybe knight coming to f5 as well. So the knight goes to a5 for white. I like this idea, going after the bishop. It's giving an X. I don't think it deserves it. It seems like a perfectly good move, especially in blitz chess. And then d5 is played, striking the center.
Yeah, we can also see that both players are actually playing rather quickly. Yeah, that's why there are also maybe some inaccuracies, but this is just part of the game.
It is. And in blitz chess, you don't expect perfection. We know that Magnus Carlsen, in his World Rapid Championship run just yesterday, throughout the last few days, he did in fact have like 95% accuracy. But in blitz, that takes a nosedive. It's not about being super accurate. It's often more about being fast.
Exactly. I feel that Mai Narva is a very nice strategist. The big question, how she will handle the complications when the clock ticks down and Bibisara, with her trademark, creates counterplay, some mess on the board.
And we have some imbalances, right? There is no longer a light square bishop for black, but white should be feeling nice and safe for the moment. The bishop on f3 really does help white, but black's activity is very clear all of a sudden.
Yes, this was a nice move. B4, stabilizing, cementing that bishop on c5. Also, black has a weakness on a6. However, black has knight d7, hitting the bishop and opening up the pressure on the knight on c3.
Great bishop on g7, and we'll see how this continues. E takes d5. That was not a move I was expecting. And can you? I'm trying to think if you can somehow capture this knight, bishop, excuse me, on c5. Pawn takes e6 is met by queen takes b4. So I do think that that bishop on c5 can be captured.
Yeah, knight takes c5, so probably I have to take back. B takes c5.
And can I get away with rook takes c5? I'm playing with fire. I know it, Peter, but I'm just trying to take advantage of this.
I might have the intermezzo with d4 then. In any case, black captured on d5 first. The bishop is not running away. Black can capture that bishop in any given moment.
And sometimes you play around the bishop because it's not able to get back to the other side of the board. And we see Bibisara bring her knight to f6 for that reason. But the a6 pawn, that's a target that white should probably go after.
Yes, I don't think that black should have kept that bishop alive. This was a strange decision. Somewhat surprising.
She probably was worried about her knight on d5. It was pinned, but she could have exited that pin after capturing on c5. But instead, we see the rook come up to a5. And I think she went queen to b8, if I'm not mistaken. She's aiming for the f4 pawn. And white just can now grab the a6 pawn. And she does.
Yeah, but black will have counterplay with knight e4. Yeah, on the board, bishop takes e4, rook takes e4, the light squares. Yes, white has an extra pawn, but let's not rule out any kind of counterplay. Rook c8, bishop h6, rook e2, now queen b5.
Queen b5 hits both rooks at the same time, and down goes d4. This kind of reminds me of the game between Bodnaruk and Humpy, that game where there was the back rank checkmate. It seemed like one side was in control, but easier to play for the side who previously was down material.
Yeah, and this is what I was worried for Mai Narva, that she played a great game, strategically all correct, but with little time on the clock in the tactical complications, Bibisara seems to be faster.
But she just hesitated. She brought a rook to c2, grabbed it back, and now plays rook c2, and the white queen steps up to f3. That is allowing the pawn to push to d4. That's a great choice. And we just saw it on the camera feed. That's a passed pawn, and it's running up the board.
Yeah, and black is winning a pawn.
And Magnus Carlsen won his game with the black pieces against Maxim Tsaruk, excuse me. So good win for Magnus, getting back to the winning ways. And here we see that white's blockading the passed pawn, and black seems to just be in the driver's seat.
Yeah, but look at this now. Both players down to the last couple of seconds.
Okay. Well, this is going to be anybody's game as both sides have passed pawns. The black king, nice and safe, with an extra pawn in front of it. Peter, do you think that black will, in fact, take this game because of that extra pawn?
Yes, I think so, but objectively it's not easy. Not easy at all.
I think that white needs to blockade that pawn. You can't allow it to push further, so the queen stepped in front of it. And it looks like both sides are doing well to stop their opponent's passed pawn. And what is happening here? I see the white queen on a6, and suddenly it's starting to look scary for black. The pawn on f5, Peter, that opens up black's king to some attacks.
Yes, exactly. I felt like even maybe the black king should evacuate to h6. All right. We got some trade. At least things clarified. This is a tactical position now.
But this does give some winning chances. The queens, I believe, are just coming off after rook d6, queen b1 check. The queens were swapped on d3. It looks like the black king is already out on e5, while the white king has stepped to f3. So this is a theoretical draw, but sometimes theoretical draws are lost because of the lack of time on the clock.
Okay, usually h4, g3 is the... Wow, she blundered the rook. It's like a mouse slip. Rook b3, rook takes b3. Oh no.
We saw a mouse slip over the board. I didn't even know that was possible, but she put her rook opposing black's rook, and usually that works online because your opponent's hovering over a piece. But when you have to physically make the move, rook b3 was just captured. That's game over. That's Bibisara Assaubayeva continuing her perfection.